even though the interest rates have gone up, there still is a dramatic inventory shortage in real estate in almost every city. In order for prices of anything to come down, supply-demand curves have to shift, meaning that the supply has to be much higher than the demand. But when there is the opposite, a shortage versus a glut in the market, when there's a shortage, prices go up. So if you want to cause the prices on something to go up, make it scarce. Make it be a shortage. I mean, there is a shortage of real estate.
Yeah.
And so the opposite of prices tanking, everybody's, oh, it's all going to go away. It's all going to be another 2000. And we kept saying, no, it's not. It's not going to bust. It's not going to bust. We said it is going to slow down.
Yeah.
And we said, if you're going to sell a house, you're going to have to actually clean it up.
Guys, welcome to Nerdy Monday. We're basically talking about houses. I think what Ramses is trying to say in this clip, he's basically saying, prices are high, but because supply and demand still exists, the prices are not going to bust. Like if it was opposite and there was a lot of houses and stuff like that and prices are high, then yes, it would be more traditional type of curve. But because prices are high, but demand is still there, that's what's kind of driving this whole market. And it's not going to be like a traditional bust. Yes, prices are coming down, and prices are coming down right now.
Yep.
But nowhere near like my first house I bought was $200,000.
Yeah.
That ain't happening again, right?
Yeah.
That's not happening. It was a townhouse, but not happening.
Not happening, yeah.
If anything, maybe 700,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? And
I don't disagree what he's saying particularly, but I don't know that he's hitting the nail on the head in terms of whether or not what he's saying is should we buy now or not buy? Because on one hand, if he's saying that prices haven't significantly come down and there's still a shortage, is he suggesting that we should invest in housing because that's still the way to go when it comes to diversifying your portfolio? Or is he just giving it from a perspective of the housing bubble is not going to burst? You know what I mean? So I agree. There's especially in the GTA, there's a huge people are not selling because they don't want to lose their money. So the supply is not as high, so the demand is still there. And prices have dropped, but not significantly. So that's the only thing I would say to his points.
Yeah, I don't think he's saying that it's a bubble. And I think you're right. The question is when to buy. I always say this. Don't necessarily time the market. Just buy when you're ready.
When you're ready.
That's what I always say. But I just kind of...
that could be dangerous though.
But why? Why?
Because
it's your time. Like my dad bought his first house for $30,000.
Are you talking in terms of housing or
just housing, in general,
yes.
just like.
But when it comes to stocks, that's different, and we can have that conversation about
well,
that
stocks.
later,
It's a different. Yes, but even stocks. You know what? No, I still say the same thing because with fractional investing, it's a game changer, guys. Yeah. It's a game changer. You can open up a fractional investing account. And then now you can buy Amazon, you can buy almost any stock that allows for fractional buys. And so you got $30, throw it in Amazon. You got an extra $40, buy Microsoft. Got an extra $20, buy Apple. You can do that now. That is game changer. Before, back in the days when my dad was doing it years ago, you had to have that money. That's the current stock price. You had to have enough. You want to get enough shares. You want to get 3 or 4 shares. The stock price is at least $50 and you need at least whatever that is 50 times.
I mean, but we could talk about that later. But what I'm trying to say in essence is with real estate, it's a little different. Okay, fine. You buy when you have the money. That's true. But you also don't want to buy when the market, like, I don't know about buying when the market's too high. Like for those that bought like in 2022, 2021, when the whole COVID was still there, they bought like really super high.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Because everyone was thinking, oh man, the interest rates are low, and the house prices. Yeah,
Interest rates were low.
it's
It was
ridiculous.
1%.
Yeah,
It was
it
wild,
was
but go on. Yeah.
ridiculous. And I thought, and this is my criticism of the government at the time in Canada, because I thought that they should have raised the interest rate at that time. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Having said that, though, do you think we're in a housing bubble crisis right now in Toronto, in the GTA?
So I'm looking here, and I'm just kind of reading this, and it
Yeah.
says Toronto is widely considered to have been
Been
in a housing
in bubble.
bubble, but as of mid 2025, which is where we're at,
Uh-huh.
that bubble appears to be
Deflating
deflating
rather
rather
than
than
inflating or actively
bursting,
bursting.
right? And I think that's kind of accurate. I think
What he's saying was accurate, yes, because
yes,
the demand and supply thing plays a factor, which is true.
yeah,
We don't have enough houses in Toronto.
that and because Toronto is such a finite place,
Yeah,
and it is literally, I know it's not the capital of Canada.
yeah.
It's people look at it as the capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
I
that
know.
country.
For
Like,
those who don't know, it's Ottawa, so just
exactly.
some people still think it's Toronto and it's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And so, this is one of the things where it's almost like Toronto is too big to fail. Just like in New York City. It'll
Correct.
never
Yeah.
fail. As much as New York is so overly priced, which leads to another point. Some argue because New York and Toronto are considered world-class cities,
Mm.
one would argue a apartment in New York City to buy is at least $4 or $5 million easily.
Yeah.
So you can buy an apartment in downtown Toronto for 900,000. So the logic there is that there's so much more room to grow. And so I think that's the sentiment. You also have a lot of foreign investors that look at Canada as a safe haven to just dump their money, and that also drives
The market,
the
the
demand
price. Yeah.
of these properties. I think what's happening is the Canadian government is curbing that. One thing that's been happening in Canada is a lot of immigration has been cut. That fire hose from the last couple of years where you had a lot of immigration, they have cut those down.
Sorry to cut you
And
short, but don't you think that's still impacting the market though? Because now you have an influx of people, but you didn't build to accommodate the influx of people that you're having.
it is, but think of it like this. Yes, you have a fire hose. So, for example, yes, you have a flood in your house and the water is damaging everything, but it's better to just cut the water, the source, than and then let
Try
it
to get
keep,
the water
yeah,
out.
then
Yeah,
have it let it keep pushing
flowing.
out,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's what Canada's done. Case in point, we had so much immigration or student immigration or whatever. Even I had students living with me. I had students living in my house because my neighbor had so much overflow. He was like, I can't house everyone. Can you? So four of them stayed here
Mhm.
for 2 years, but now they're all gone, right? I'm not saying they're all gone, but the point is the hose that you Canada had that was just letting everyone through and letting everyone into the country has stopped. So what's happening now is you have a little bit of attrition where some people are just going back. Some people they can't find a job. Their job, the whole American or Canadian dream has now kind of deflated because it's a little bit harder to do
Yeah.
this and do that. So a lot of people are just going back.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of little things that Canada's doing to try to curb that foreign investor that is hiking up the prices and kind of pushing out the traditional Canadian from getting houses. But overall, I think you're right. The bubble hasn't burst really, but it's definitely it's definitely
It's
not like it
deflated.
was with yeah, it's definitely not like COVID. It's
Yeah.
definitely not like COVID. So, reason why this is important is close to me. I am thinking about buying a house for my daughter.
This guy, man, you're always buying property, man. When I grow up, I want to be like you. That's all I'm gonna say.
Aren't you older than me?
I didn't say that. How do you know?
Just joking.
Give me your driver's license. Let's fact check that.
So I'm thinking about buying a property, and the whole logic here, guys, is again Nerdy Mondays. Let's talk some numbers. I have to, my daughter has to rent somewhere. To rent, probably around 2,400 a month. She wants to rent with a bunch of her friends. So get a house, 2,400 dollars a month. Yes, they would all rent, and then they would all pay the landlord, and not my daughter would be one of them, or sorry, pay one of the people that paying the rent for another person's mortgage. So my logic is, okay, if my daughter has all these people willing to pay rent, why don't I get those terms or get those contracts or get those lease agreements,
Mm-hmm.
and then I buy the property, and then now all these people will pay me, and in turn they would pay my daughter because I would make my daughter the landlord of that property.
Mm-hmm.
I have a property manager, so she wouldn't do anything really. She would
Yeah.
just be the landlord on title. She can get the 5% down payment potentially, or 10% down payment,
As a
because if you
first time
guys,
buyer. Yeah.
that's right, if you guys know, as long as you're owner occupied in a house, even if it's considered a rental, even if you're renting it, but as long as somebody in your family is living there, it's considered owner occupied. So guys, it's really important. Take advantage of that if you can. So have my daughter take up one room. She doesn't pay anything. We get leases from all four other people or three other people, whoever, and then they pay my daughter rent. That in turn pays the mortgage. And then I go from paying 2,300, or not 2,300, but maybe if it's a house and they're splitting it, maybe $800-900 a month. Now I pay nothing because theoretically
They're paying
the
the
other
mortgage.
students will be paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
Obviously, the risk there is that one person can leave and they all may leave, and then you're stuck with the mortgage. But the bottom line is that, think about it. I have to do something, either rent or buy. And given this market, this is the trick. The market is down. So it's a buyer's
It's a
market. It's
buyer's market
considered a
right now.
buyer's
Yeah.
market. So there's a house, I don't know if I can pull it up, but house for 1.03, and we wanted to buy it. No way I'm going to pay 1.03. If anything, I'm going to try to get them down to 900.
Mm.
And then you know what? The great thing is if that doesn't work out, I can always default to renting. I don't know what
Gotcha.
your
Like you
thoughts
don't
are.
have to buy, is
That's
what you're
right.
saying. So
Yeah.
that's why it's a buyer's market because again, to what you said, if you decide not to buy, you can always pay rent, and it's their loss if they don't sell. And a lot of times these sellers are desperate to get rid of the property. So that's why it's a good time to negotiate. So if it's going for a certain price, you can always call the bluff and just say, hey, this is how much I'm willing to pay.
Exactly.
If you don't buy, they don't know that someone else is going to buy it, so they're forced to sell. Good
Exactly.
strategy. For those who are listening and those who watch this, it's one of the ways to have somebody else pay your bills, so to speak.
Exactly.
So with what Kevin's saying, you can translate that to, it doesn't have to be a rental property for schooling or anything, but even as for if you're just for tenants, if you're looking to buy a rental property, now's the time. It's a buyer's market, and you can get them to pay your mortgage.
And what are your thoughts? I think I mentioned this before, but the reason why I like this is it also, I'm one of those people where I don't just talk about it, I be about it. There's so many
Look at this
people that
guy.
say,
Those talk. Where's
what?
that? I've heard that lyric. Talk about
I
it, be
made it
about
up.
it.
No, it's
Seriously?
Lecrae said it in his one of his
Yeah,
songs.
it's like yeah, they okay.
Don't talk your faith out, walk your faith out.
Walk your faith. No, there's a song that goes,
Oh,
don't
there's another
speak
song.
about it,
Okay.
be about it.
Okay, there's another one. So maybe
I'm not the
Lecrae.
skill of an actor. Oh, actually, I think it was Diddy that said it. So.
This guy, this baby oil and
No,
Diddy.
no Diddy, no Diddy.
Wow.
Oh man, yeah.
So, what are
Anyways,
your thoughts on that? I didn't ask you the question yet. I'm a person that I believe I practice what I preach. If that helps, is that better?
yeah, that's better.
Not triggering
No,
you.
no, no, not me.
So I really believe in I practice what I preach. So I always tell people, in this day and age, like I said, 200,000 was my first house. That ain't ever happening again. And so for the generation that's younger than me, which is tons of generations, I don't think you can buy your first house. I think your first house has to be an investment house. And so this is where I kind of want to do this for my daughter.
Mm,
So I'm not going to necessarily put my daughter as full owner. I'll probably try to do like maybe 70-30 and greedily have 70 for me, 30 for her, but only because she's really young. She's only 19. And then I could always change that. But the whole point is she now has ownership, and her first house is her investment house. And then 5 years later, she could take the equity out. Most likely, when I see her maturity, I will just give her 100%. It's just right now, I don't know. I was laughing about it today. I was like, what happens when you get your husband? and your husband turns you against me. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't taking no risks. You're only 19 years old.
Oh,
So I
this
ain't
guy,
giving you
man.
flex.
This
Listen,
guy.
no,
This
I think a
guy.
legitimate
I
concern.
mean, it is a concern,
Yeah,
but
so
I mean, we can get into that later.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
girls are
I'm almost
always they'll always stick with their dads. But we'll talk about that after. But what was
yeah.
the question again?
I didn't get the question yet.
Oh,
I'm prefacing. Sorry, I ramble. But my rambling
right,
makes
right.
sense.
Okay,
So I
land the
just
plane.
truly I'll edit it, all right?
No worries.
I just truly believe in practicing what I preach. First house should never, ideally not be your first house. It'll be your investment house. Wait 5 years,
What do you
take
mean?
equity out.
So
So
if I
first
want to buy a
house,
property, you're saying that I shouldn't live in that property?
that's right. Your first property should be your investment
So
property.
where should I live?
You stay at home, man. You're
What
young,
if
stay at
what
home.
what if
Well, I'm serious. Where were
what
you
if
living before you were buying the house? You were living
it's
somewhere.
renting?
Okay. Well, rent and save up your money. Obviously, rent and then save up money, buy the investment property, let that gain equity, and then that someone else rents that out.
Hmm.
And then who knows, you can make a little bit of profit potentially, offset that to pay off your rent that you're paying right now. The point what I'm trying to say is given the prices, given the current climate, given the increase in the what's the rate? What's the word?
Interest rate?
Not interest rate, inflation.
Inflation?
Given
Okay.
the rate of inflation, given salaries, it is crazy. We're not keeping up pace with inflation. So this is your best bet to get out of this kind of rut where you're working and then inflation is not keeping pace with your salary. This is your only bet. So that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying
I
hustle, live at home, do whatever you got to do. And then once you have some equity, 5 years, takes
Mhm.
5 years, take that equity out, then use that as a down payment for your first real house.
How about another alternative to
So
that?
sorry, real quickly. So this is what I'm doing with my daughter.
Okay,
That's all.
fair
So
enough.
what are your thoughts on that? That's my
So what you're
question.
doing with your daughter is fine. I don't think it's a bad idea. But to your point about buying and having someone else live in it, how about an alternative thought to that, which is buy something that you can live in and also rent at the same time?
So live in the basement and then live.
Something, yeah.
You could do that. That's
Because
not too
that's
bad.
more because then the homeowners, as long as you're living on in the property, there's a lot of advantages to that,
Yeah,
right?
you're
Because you
right.
can monitor the property, you don't have to get a property manager, those types of things.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice to that, to what you recommended, was get a property where you can live in and rent out, maybe if it's a room, or if it's a property where you can live in the basement and you rent out the top, something like that.
Yeah. And that's totally valid too. It's still considered an investment, but then just like my daughter, she's living in it.
Yeah.
So the bank just looks at it as owner occupied.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's
Yeah.
even better.
Because yeah.
The only reason why I would say I like my way, not to be biased, is because it's a separation. I think just like how I had this discussion with my friend. I'm like, you should incorporate. He's like, no, I don't need to incorporate. I'm like, you should. And he's like, no, here's why not. And I get sole proprietorship. I get it. I totally get it.
I'm against sole
But
proprietorship.
you see, that's similar to you buying
But
the
it's not.
property, living.
It's a bit.
It is
It's
because
a
you're
little different.
blending. You're
Okay,
but you're
I'll let you
blending.
finish. Yeah.
You're
Okay.
blending. That's all I'm just trying to say. Versus you severing a clear delineation. That's all.
Okay.
But I cut you off. So
No, no, no worries. The reason why there's a lot of advantages to staying in a property when you own it is because you can, number one, you can monitor the property. Now, when it comes to the landlord tenancy thing, if the tenant was to, by, default, or try to take you to court, or doesn't want to leave the property, you live in the property. They can't do that. And with the advent of the way tenants are screwing landlords over in Toronto, especially these days, it's a big risk. So, in as much as you want to separate yourself from it, you're still liable. If you get a tenant who doesn't pay rent, and I have several buddies who've had this issue where the tenant, actually, I have a friend, she lost her property. The tenant was there for 2 years and she was paying the mortgage. She had to
mm,
give it up.
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's horror stories like that. It doesn't mean I'm not saying you shouldn't invest in a property and not get tenants, but it just takes that one tenant to ruin everything for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few of them out there.
Yeah.
So that's why I would recommend you living in the property, because there's a lot of advantages to that. They can't, if you want to kick the tenant out, it's a lot easier because it's owner occupied.
I don't know about that.
I think it would be a lot
I don't
easier
know.
than if you were not living in the property.
Mm,
I would think so. I don't know what the laws
yeah,
are
I
around that,
think once you
but
take rent from somebody
yeah,
and you have a separate dwelling, like in terms of kitchen,
yeah.
I think that's where you're wrong. If you guys shared a
Uh,
kitchen, then that's
then
different.
okay, then
But
then get an apartment
well, what
where
I'm
you
trying
get
to
you rent a room.
don't change your thing.
I'm not changing. I'm
You
just
said
saying.
to rent
I'm just
and be in
saying.
the
But
basement
yes,
or
but
be up top.
okay,
The
because
point
I
is you're
don't know
gonna
the
have two
laws.
kitchens.
Yeah, okay, fine. If you have two kitchens, but here's the
Yeah.
thing, Kevin, you're still living in your house,
Yeah.
and you're still somehow offsetting the debt that you'd be paying in your house if somebody else was paying the entire thing.
You're
Because
right.
what if you okay, you're living outside the property, you're going to be paying rent in the property that you live.
Yeah.
The tenant defaults on the mortgage. Now you're responsible for the rent that you pay and the tenant defaulting. And they're still going to be living there because you can't really kick them out.
Yeah.
But if you're living in the property, you're not paying rent outside. You're still obligated to pay your own rent, which is a portion of the mortgage and the tenant's mortgage. And you can absorb that much easier than if you were to be outside the property where you're paying the entire thing and paying your rent. So that's all I'm saying.
You're right. I guess all I'm just saying is I would like to think if you are in the mindset of renting a property, you would be a little bit more smarter than to rent a place and then buy at the same time. I think what I'm talking about and the demographic that I'm talking about is I was at home. No one forced me to leave. I just wanted to leave, right? I had my daughter, and so the point is I could have stayed at home. So to clarify, maybe I should give context. This works for people that are at home. Someone that just wants to leave just to be on their own, just to get out, I think it's silly. I think suck it up a little bit, stay at your mama's house, live in the basement of your mama's house. Ain't no one's gonna bug you. Maybe give your mom 10,000 to finish the basement, if anything. That's a great investment for them, and then for you. You live there. You separate yourself. You're in their basement. Maybe pay them $400 or $500 a month. Nothing, right? You know, it's your parents, right? My point is, I think that's a better deal. And so you do that, and then you buy your first property. You can even Airbnb that bad boy. You can rent it out traditionally for rent. So what he's saying, he's not telling you. That's only if you rent. You can do Airbnb. Airbnb, you can kick them out
Yeah.
whenever you want.
Yeah. I mean,
So
and I mean, location is key for that.
yeah.
Like I said, my piece. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Thank you. So I just think at the end of the day, it still works. I get it. It seems good in theory. Oh yeah, just rent out the basement or live in the basement and then you live up top. It's just it gets a little tricky. Number one, the demographic in the market of the people that are willing to do that and want to rent out and know that you're in the basement, that's going to be reduced. So you're not going to be able to get your real full market value.
You don't have to tell them that you're the landlord.
No, but usually people that are renting out a whole house, you have to tell them you live in the basement. Obviously, they're going to see you.
Yeah.
They're probably
No, but
not
you're
going
gonna tell them that someone who lives in the basement, but you don't have to tell them you're the landlord.
What? What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Get a property manager who gets them to live upstairs, and they deal
I'm
with the property manager.
pretty sure you would have to tell. I don't. My point. What I'm trying to say for them to not know that you're not in the basement.
No,
It's
no, 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 no. I don't
Okay,
think you can
sorry.
hide the fact that you're someone who's
Yeah.
living in the
So
basement. No, no,
yes.
no. But what I'm saying is, depending on the situation, they don't have to know that you own the property.
Okay, but my
Yeah.
point. What I'm trying to say is, even though it doesn't matter, the fact that you're splitting up a house
Uh-huh.
and some strangers living in the basement, you're not going to get the max amount of people that want to live there.
I see where.
That's
Okay,
what I'm
fair
trying to
enough.
say.
That's
Like, it's a little awkward.
that's
People are
true.
going to be
That's
like,
true. That's a fair point.
I don't
I
know
can
about
agree with
that. You
that.
know what I mean?
I
People,
can
if they're
agree with
renting
that.
out a house for a premium price, they want the whole damn house. What you could do is you could say the basement is off limits and that's for storage and it's your house, but that's fine. They'll be fine with that. But someone living in the basement, that's different, right? It's like, who is this person? What if they're a killer? And even though you might have separate door entrance and stuff, people just want to know who's there, right? Because guns don't kill people, people kill people, right? So
This guy, man.
someone just buys, boars shooting up in the ceiling.
How do we go from housing to
Sorry, I'm a morbid
Just
person.
wrap it up, man, because I think you're just
All right.
yeah.
We should have that button, that button, like, wrap it up.
Yeah.
You know, the
When you
music
start crying,
at the end
I
of
said
a. So that's my thought process, guys. I
Oh
know it's
man, this guy.
unconventional, but it works. I did it. I mean, I didn't do it exactly, but my point is, I rented on my property, moved into my. Well, I did. I moved into my mom's basement. I had 2 kids. I had a fiance at the time. They all hated me, but a year later, they all loved what I did. I took the equity. I saved up like crazy, and I bought this house. Took the equity out. The other house was being rented. It worked. All right, guys. This is Nerdy
This
Monday.
guy.
I haven't
You didn't
convinced
shoot up your
Jai.
mom's basement when you were there. Oh
Goodness,
man.
why do I keep you around, brother? Why do I keep you around?
You brought it up, man. You said you shoot up the
If
place.
anyone else wants to be my co-host
Oh, this
for Nerdy
guy, man.
Mondays,
This guy,
I'll keep him for Thought Fridays.
this
He had the
guy.
thought in his head, but Nerdy Mondays, guys, I'm doing applications. Anybody,
Oh,
anyone's better than
man.
Jai. Just joking. Guys, this is Nerdy Mondays. Please let us know if you agree or disagree what I'm thinking or any other ideas with respect to housing and, just trying to build equity for our future and our kids' future. Well, not necessarily our future, our kids' future.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm done.
Don't shoot up the place. Bye, guys.